Hi everyone. This is for my students of architecture. Others can kind of scroll down. Maybe you can hit a like. Yeah. And if you are watching this on YouTube, probably you can hit the subscribe and click the bell button. Yeah. You see, I had been practicing as an architect for the past 2 decades across India and abroad. With my hands-on experience in designing and building numerous projects, I've gained some real-life insight, which I keep sharing with my students of architecture. I have been guiding architecture students to do their project works for quite some time now. We have with us a student of architecture, and we are trying to resolve a particular design problem. So let us get straight into it. Yeah. So let us check it out. Yeah. And then I'll tell you.
Okay, I'm doing that.
There is an issue with this area. Yeah. Are you able to see it?
Yeah, this is yeah, I saw that.
So when you scale it,
So that's supposed.
so what you need to do is this line. So we keep here. This line is reaching this side. Okay, to switch that line, you need to scale up the Google Map.
Okay.
Map needs to be scaled up. This image.
Okay.
The image needs to be scaled up. So that why? Because you can zoom in this part. You zoom this part. Zoom in.
This portion, right?
Yeah. See, there are a couple of big boundaries. Okay. So,
Yeah.
see, this one. This is a fixed boundary at site. Right?
Yeah.
So this is unchangeable. You can never change it.
Oh yes, sir. I told you right. This was I think there was an error in scaling the Google map. CAD drawing is completely fine because it's already scaled and given by the HITFA office. So since I exported the map from Google Earth itself, so there's an issue with that.
Yeah.
So
How you do it? So Google Map has this particular line, right? So the whole thing. This part. No. Because of just move this part. Getting that?
so I'll scale it in such a way that this boundary matches it. Right?
Just the whole side. Only the whole
This
side.
is the whole.
Yeah. Just wait. Hold on. Hold on. You need to just move this part. This part. The whole screen. You need to the whole screen. Okay. Now you see. Just wait. Hold on. So now you see. When you are referring to the satellite image, there are a couple of things you can fix. Okay, drawing the referring image, you can move up and down. Satellite image is not changing. You see this particular line here. These are lines of ground. You go down. You go to the ground. You see that particular line is there. Like this. So this is one.
Yeah.
Then again, there is another line here. This particular line, right? This one. Even this one.
Yes.
These are straight plot boundaries. Right?
Yes, sir.
While there is nothing here. There is nothing here.
No.
Yeah. So now what you do is you don't touch this line, which is the vector line of AutoCAD. That
Okay.
will be remaining as it is. You need to select this image, Google image, at the backdrop.
Okay.
Okay, and scale it up. Scale it up. Right?
Okay.
So that this line matches this.
Okay.
This yellow line matches the front boundary of the AutoCAD.
Okay.
Right? So this way, what will happen is because AutoCAD is 100% the scale, there is no chance of making this image. While Google Map can have error because these maps are like it's not just a single snapshot. It's a multi-layered image. They have taken a lot of photos and then just put it together, so there are a couple of errors here. This happens also. So now you need to just scale up this whole thing a little bit from here, this part to here. Right? The moment you scale up, the entire scenario changes. So this line, this particular line, will come closer.
Okay.
This particular line will come closer to the walkways that are there within the site. Now you realize that there are a couple of walkways in the site. You see, people in the pedestrian walkways, people go walking like this. You realize they're already there, existing.
So the most recent time when I visited the site, before the lockdown thing that happened, there was no pedestrian pathways in this, right? The entirety of the site was overgrown with weeds and plants, and there was no distinction or any particular pathway that goes towards it. And towards this site, there was some makeshift shanties and houses that were there, along with food shacks and all that.
Yes.
And this entire site from here till here, this entire area was overgrown with weed and plants. So there was no particular, space or walkways into it. And this entire area of the road, along with this area, is currently the last time that I saw, it was being used by huge lorries and trucks as parking spaces and resting areas by the drivers and workers.
So where are they parking really?
There were, if you can see along this area, there's already some lorries parked here, and the same situation is. Yeah, so the same situation is towards here, from here till here, this entire L area. Since they have their fooding areas over here, the temporary shanties and shacks, so they park their lorries along this direction, this entire direction, and they rest here.
So there is one structure I will see. What is
This structure, this was a police kiosk.
So will that be existing when you are driving along?
I don't think so, sir. It's a temporary structure.
Where is it? Is it a part of the part of it?
No, it's like it's half semi into the pavement and like it's kind of like in both the air.
So now that you're thinking, this whole space, this one as well as this one, these two frontages will not have concrete boundary walls for sure, but will be having something really permeable, right? So that the entire block becomes a part of the terminal. Part of the
Yes.
Correct. So that was the approach.
Yes, sir.
Like there is no harm in thinking government boundaries on this side because these are other properties which are coming up and there will be other buildings.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
Yeah. And what else? Give me the date. If you have date stamp on top of this particular release,
Let me check, sir. I think this was around 2010.
2010. So I think that is the pretty older image. As of now, there are no pedestrian movement happening. This crossing to the side.
No, sir.
So this road, there are a lot of pedestrianized
No, sir. There is a.
something like this. So over time, they have
The last time that I visited the site, the visibility of the side ground is zero because it's entirely overrun by plant life.
So this doesn't take this.
No.
So there can be two reasons because of this. One is that the site is not well kept and there are overgrowth of all the weeds and everything, so that people don't want to travel. Another reason can be these roads, the main roads, arterial roads around, have become so well developed
Yes.
now. Right, by 2020, right? And that was 10 years back.
Yeah.
In the last 10 years, these roads have been pretty well developed. So people actually love to walk on the main road instead of going to Barren side or Forest or this side.
Yes.
Right, so instead of walking,
And
they
especially-
prefer walking on the footpath of another road. Because
Compared to other areas of Kolkata and Newtown and Salt Lake, the pavement is relatively open for the pedestrian. So like other than on this side, on the right side, other than those shops, all the pavements are open for the pedestrian to walk on.
So that was that we were discussing, like having this part, these two frontages open for the public places, and having this entry from this side, major thoroughfare for vehicles, regular traffic.
Yeah.
And having some parking systems over here. And the rest of the
Yes, sir.
connectivity like this, regular connectivity because we have a road here, because of the particular road here, we have to have a connectivity, so that will be like a custom navigating road all around the property. With two main roads on the left hand side, on the right and the top there will be this particular road. So that's from the point of the fire, this road. And
Yes, sir.
these roads, basically a path. Inside there will be certain buildings, right? We have your structure. So right now we are discussing about what are those structures that are going to come. So that will go ahead.
So the date of the image that you were asking about, this image is 2019.
2019. 19.
Yes, sir.
So that's
Yes, sir.
not
2019.
long back. I think we need to revisit the site after this lockdown and just go and check whether that the access to the site are still there or not. Because what happens, the moment why do people start walking through sites like this? You tell me.
Because it reduces the distance between point A to point B, or maybe because sometimes they do it because it's interesting to go through new areas rather than the same area.
But in this particular case, what it looks like because of this urban scenario. It's not a place where people will go for someone or something. Because from point A to point B, you are able to see. If you are in point A and if you are say point B, if you are able to see it, there's no point exploring to this particular site. But the only reason why it actually travels from A to B directly is to shorten the distance. And you have to be a pedestrian to do that. And who are those pedestrians who travel? They are the people who are there using the handy, right? You come all the way from this point B, where there are these leads to further handy. From there's a canal here, right? The canal there.
Yes,
There
sir.
are a lot of handy on the opposite side of the handy. The opposite side of the canal. So there people come. Who actually
Okay.
visit the residence, they travel and come as the shopkeepers here.
Okay.
There are certain shopkeepers.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I might have some images that I've taken from. I wasn't able to go in within the site.
Again, what happens? This is the residential area. This area. From here, if there are some elderly people. What are people who go to post office?
Yeah. Most of the time it's the elderly people. Yeah.
There is a point where somebody is in point A and the senior person wants to go to the post office. So will he prefer traveling a vehicular road like this, or will he prefer traveling straight away within the site into the post office? Given that the site can be connected, I mean, he can walk over. If it's like open playground, and like, but it's like, when he walk over, he will actually prefer.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So this has become over time a pedestrian corridor. Now, it is your prerogative over there to respect this kind of scenario that local people in an organic order that they travel through the site. Whether you respect this kind of pattern and incorporate this pattern within the pattern of the movement that you're planning within your site. Will you still allow these people to actually make a thoroughfare within your site?
Yes, sir. That is the
If
aim. Like
yeah, you can do that.
that is
do that
the entire reason why I don't want boundary on the site.
Right, so if you do that, then what will happen is you are actually restricting the organic movement of the people that are there and making a certain architecture which will improve. You are improving the community within architecture. And not only that, allow people to walk through your site and enjoy what is the new construction or landscaping, whatever people to come to your site, but also bring in business maybe. Maybe there are short along the road, maybe places where so more and more people will actually use this road, they are actually using it already. Right, so just think of things in those lines. So having a boundary like this, or maybe like this.
So this solves one of the issues that I was having. This corridor here. Initially, I'm just changing it a bit. When I started with the whole, site design, so it could clear the screen. Yeah. So initially, when I was starting with the placement of the features that I was giving onto the site, like this was the very first one that I started working on. It's very rough. So this is the senior citizen lounge and the children childcare facility area, and this is the football field. And over here we have the exhibition block which I was designing earlier, right? So while I was doing the placement, as you can see, it's very out of proportion. Like it doesn't look very natural. So if I follow the corridor natural pathways that are there already on the site, I might be able to differentiate it into proper zones. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about
So, yeah, it's fine, sir. I was just checking the alignment of whatever I was doing here. So, since this natural corridor that already exists there for the pedestrians that it use, it has to be modified a lot because these areas and these areas will be blocked off because of future construction. So, creating a natural pathway from this area to this area is the major thing, right?
last time in your previous design, you were doing some different kind of shapes, right?
Yeah, this one.
You had a shape of no, not this one. You had some trapezoidal shape of building or like features.
Hexagonal.
Hexagonal or some interesting kind of features. So where are those? Did you change those completely?
I haven't changed those completely, but it's more of a thing that it depended on the on the landscaping feature, right? So the buildings themselves were like complementing the angular landscaping that was supposed to be done. But the thing was that I wasn't able to fit the building shapes into the site itself. It looked very unnatural and out of place. And even the thing with the integrating the verticality of the buildings, like having ramps and slopes that connected upper levels directly to the lower levels, like the ground and the park, it wasn't like I wasn't able to work that out with hexagonal structures. So I was thinking like if I started working on more basic structures and then started developing that into more complicated structures one step at a time, it would be better. The other thing that I was having an issue with was when I started doing placements. Hello.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So when I started doing these placements, the thing was that there's no standard size for the ML multi-level car parking that you told me about. Like I wasn't able to find a standard size. It all depends on the number of park spaces that I'm supposed to have.
Are you able to hear me?
No, sir, I wasn't able to hear you. Hello.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah. So basically, the thing was that the size of the MLCP is like, is there any standard that I have to follow for the multi-level car parking, or do I like, is it like lighting fixtures or something that I'll have to look through brochures or?
For MLCP,
Yes, sir.
for MLCP, you have to follow individual standards. Like for example, basement of the building, you have to follow the building bylaw and the height of the building bylaw. And then for the ramp, there are specific for the ramps, like for the one way ramp is 3.5 meters, and two way ramp is 7 meters, and then
Okay.
then there are for the size of the vehicles, 2.5 meters, again, the building bylaw. There are independent rules for it. If you also do then make it there is one proper guidelines also one able how design is. So there are different individual rules there for the building. So
Okay.
two goes together.
And so one alternative to MLCP was what if we give underground building along this area, along this
We
area.
can give underground buildings. We can also give a bubble parking that we were discussing earlier, where there will be up to constructed steel structure, right? So and there will be no ramps.
Okay.
This will be completely mechanized robotic parking, where you just put in the vehicle and the vehicle automatically goes to the construction spot. We will taken for that. And again, the vehicle is taken right from the ground floor, that is whatever storage is. Right? Again,
So is there standards for that also, the bubble parking, like for other brochures?
It doesn't have standard, but it has detailed manual or detailed designs that are available in the website. So you can see the sizes and dimensions of the parking, right? From where you can directly take from that.
Okay.
So those are somewhat like this. Leaf doesn't have a specific norms which say what it should be.
Yeah.
There are guidelines about it. But the sizes of any are varies from company to company. Which again you can go to the website. You will have
Yes, sir.
that was really
The other thing was this started doing the exhibition block, which is basically the multi, like it can be used for okay, NBC.
But for the specific dimensions and everything, you need to go to their own website.
Okay. So I started doing like this. Since my like the construction is like the building is divided into 3 blocks, which is the senior citizen childcare facility block, exhibition block, and the main community center building. So I started doing the exhibition block first. So I came up with this structure, like this is basically the structure, and this is a kind of like a seating plus ramp area that leads to the first floor level from the outside itself. And there is one entry from here. There's the entry from here. This is a gallery space, and this is kind of like a mini gallery and lobby space entry, which is the plan here. There's a storage space here. There's an administrative office here which takes care of the exhibition block. And this is the first floor, like, or technically the roof level plan.
What do you have on this side?
I couldn't hear you, sir.
This part of the
Which part, sir?
floor.
Yeah, like what?
This floor and this floor.
Okay,
This is ground.
okay, got it, sir. This is the ground floor,
Ground.
and this is the upper floor or the roof floor.
So how do you enter like this?
No, sir. The entry to the ground floor is from this area and this area, and this leads to the roof floor. The roof floor will be accessible to the public.
Like this. And then how do you go up?
You go up from outside, which is this area.
So is there a dedicated staircase to go up here?
No, the roof is not accessible from the inside of the building. It's accessible from the outside.
Okay, so you have an outside staircase.
Yes, sir. Which is this one.
Where?
Yeah, this is the entire staircase, and there's also a ramp
This is the staircase.
beside the staircase. Yeah, the staircase, it's technically not a staircase, it's more of like a staircase cum seating area. People can sit on the, it's around 500 mm in width.
No, but how does the staircase walk out? Where are you climbing up to the staircase? How are you going up? From here?
We are going up. We are going up here like this.
Okay. Directly to the upper floor.
Yeah, it's kind of like a roof garden kind of thing, accessible to the public. There will be a pathway from here like this, so people can come here. Go.
No, there has to be a landing place here. You don't have so many steps in one flight. Maybe like
So the thing is that you can sit on the steps itself. It's a seating slash it's like a seating slash staircase area.
this is fine, but as per the NBC, you cannot have single flight like this going up.
Okay.
You cannot actually walk up like that.
Okay. So it was more of a thing that how we had seating spaces in a OAT, right? Like steps which you can sit on. I thought it like that is what I was going for.
Even for that matter, if you say OAT or maybe like a theater, maybe like it also has a certain landing place. There are at least here. How is the layout of any theater? This is the scale of the screen. This is the scale of the camp. There are eyes like this.
Yeah.
Like this, right? There is a landing space here. Where you have your premium seat here. There will be another landing space here. There will be three categories of seating here. So there will be walkway.
Well,
So
I
the break
it's
here.
a piece of
10
ball,
steps here, 10 steps here, 10 12 steps here, there is a break.
So like I think there's supposed to be a landing after every 12 steps, right?
Yeah, so that is the maximum. Ideally, keep it to 10.
Okay.
Like
This is around 13 steps, I think.
12 or 13, keep it to 10. That is the best scenario.
Okay.
Okay, so 10 is the best kind of scenario. That is the maximum. So basically, you see, architecture school tends to be long on art and short on humanity. Architecture studios push theory, tectonics, pathy, parametric design, phenomenology of the skin or whatever it is called this year. So really, the students are encouraged to think or really think about the people and design for the people for whom they are supposed to build it, inhabit, work in and maintain their particular building. Students are taught to search for inspiration anywhere but the lives of real human beings. So which is again important. Well, basically see, what happens is architectural school tends to be long on art and short on humanity. In truth, the built environment is rather broken, but this is not because architects abandon their ideological purity. Instead, it is because the ideological purity taught in most of the school of architecture is largely incompatible to the human scale, to the needs of the human or the needs of the users. The inward-looking, style-based, mechanic, fetish mode of architecture design is not useful, which is in practice today. But you see, a community-centric, conducive design which is for the people, by the people, and of the people is what I'm trying to preach over and over again. Not only that, you can also have indoor plants. And there was a study where plants make indoor spaces healthier for occupants, both in terms of physical and mental health. Having indoor plants in the office reduces indoor air pollutant 87% in 24 hours. Can you imagine that? Overall stress by 60% of the people, anxiety by 37%, fatigue by 38%, headaches by 20%, and noise up to 50%. So you can imagine how the importance of this planting of green vegetation is. Plants reduce energy usage, plants extend roof lives, plants moderate temperature in the hot spots, plants even can provide fresh vegetables for the building occupants, and so on. You see guys, building that feature greenery and natural light do more than just look good. The green spaces prove beneficial to building occupants, and even the building itself stands to benefit. When plants are used on the walls and roof of a building, the results are amazing and very positive too. Yeah, that is correct. That's more of blazing on the southern and western side. We have a lot of decay. Yeah.
Okay.
So it is not right. Can you not have a blank as well?
That can be done. So like the other option would be to have some kind of like curtain effect on top of that.
So you probably have a blank facade, on this particular side, and then bring in the north light on the northern side. This is the north side. This is somewhat towards your north, oriented towards north. This way. So bring in the north light. Yeah.
Okay.
Bring in the north light from here, which will be like a diffuse ambient lighting, and this part would be solid facade. There will be no glazing on this, because you have gas on the south on this side, right?
Okay.
And since the gallery is a huge space, and if you have so much of glazing on the south, there will be like a lot of decay.
Okay. So basically a mirror of the existing game.
No, I see. This one, this staircase effect, whatever feature you want to do here, that staircase can still be there. The staircase, the ramp and everything can be like this. Only the glass part of it, glass and the solid and the white part of it can be interchanged.
Okay. Mirror thing.
Now, the glass can be on these two sides. Right? Glass can be on these two sides. And the opposite two sides can be solid.
Okay.
While the other features like your staircase or your ramp can be there with its same shape, it can be there.
Okay. Okay.
Right? This is
Yes,
your as per your sun path. This is your sun path. Okay, this is
Yeah.
west. So this is how the sun goes. So this part is sorry. You can bring
Okay,
it
sir.
sort of north side.
So the other thing was that when I was designing the making the plans, the thing that kept coming to my mind was that since I wasn't able to visit the site properly, so I don't know whether there is already an existing water supply or electrical substation given there or not. So the electric concept and HVAC concept, like should I pay attention to it after doing the tile planning and everything, or like do I have to?
I think the best is you can quickly visit the site because it is not very far away and see what the scenario is. If you see that something is coming up in terms of that substation is concerned, because substation will take up like almost half an acre to 1 acre of land. It's pretty huge. You have to land. If that is coming within the periphery of your plot, then that needs to be considered. If it is not coming, then for the time being, as this is an academic project, right? For the time being, you can ignore that thing because it is eventually going to come in some part of the city or other. And then
Okay. So the substation is not a concern right now if it's not existing.
yes,
If it doesn't exist in the site.
go to the site and quickly.
Okay, so whenever
Let's see what we can help.
and then the water supply, yeah, because the last time when we did a design like residential or we had to like keep in mind about the water reservoir and everything. So do we have to do that here also? Like
All the services have to be taken into consideration. And water supply within the site is your concern. How the water comes to your site may not be your concern because there is a huge difference. So within the supply of the water from the inlet point into your site, after that what happens to it? There has to be underground reservoir which has to be pumped up to the overhead reservoir which is there, and then how the distribution happens. A basic schematic outline will do. Not going to the water because again it's
okay, so while designing that is not a very critical factor.
no, but the schematics has to be there.
So schematics in the sense basic water
It's like how
supply drawing.
after the water enters your site, it will either enter from the major artery or the site. Right? You enter the site at some point, any point, you can consider for that. Then from that point, what happens to that particular water? Right? What happens is generally it goes to underground reservoir. From there, it pumps up to the overhead tank. And from where it is distributed. Right? You can have multiple overhead reservoirs, multiple underground reservoirs as per your choice, as per the facilities that you are designing. If you have multiple buildings, you can go for multiple buildings. Or if you think that, oh, I'll have one single water tower inside my site, you can do that.
Okay, got it.
So might have such a water tower and water.
And the HVAC portion of the things, right? So in case of community center, gallery spaces and all, there obviously has to be a room or an area that controls the air and the electrical. So what exactly do I have to keep in mind while making it? Do I have to dedicate a particular space like in universities we have the AHU?
Yes, you have to allocate the spaces, entity areas, but you don't need to do any calculations for that.
Okay.
But allocate
So
the
is there a
you need to have a pump, you need to have a chiller plant, you need to have a HVAC room, electrical room, all these things have to be allocated.
okay? So could you repeat what would rooms?
Your electrical room will be there. For water supply, you have the pump rooms.
Electrical rooms. Pump
You
rooms.
have, if you have central air conditioning, do you have any central air conditioning? I don't think so. Any of your building doesn't have.
The gallery exhibition block. This one.
Do you want to do that? Can it not be regulated? It will be more sustainable way to address the issue. Okay, the gallery is the one that we are discussing right now here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the moment you are making a structure which is having a wall on this left and right on your side, on the western and southern side, which is blocking the direct heat of the sun, and you are glazing up on the northern side, so that means it is bringing in north light automatically, right? So there is a lot of cooling happening inside.
Yeah, we can do that. Natural ventilation and cooling effect. Okay.
So that's why, and if you have a green roof on top, you're going for a green roof on top of those things, right?
Yeah.
So structure will have a green roof. So automatically your structure becomes cool.
Okay.
Right? And which is the predominant ventilation that you figure out? It is probably this side. Is it this or this?
I think it's 1 minute. It's from this side.
Okay, so figure out the predominant ventilation. That's for the ventilation. You design that.
Okay.
Design the opening so that there is, and since there is a cross ventilation, and since your building is in such a shape where you have an inclination towards the top, it's a triangulated building. So the moment you have an inclined facade going upwards, there are multiple uses to that.
Okay.
Yeah, see, there are a lot of sustainable features in this particular structure itself.
Okay.
What is number one? You figure out what is number one is you have a facade system which does not allow the harsh sun rays from the southern and western sides, right? And it stops the entire solar radiation insolation from these two sides. What is number two is it brings in north light, right?
Yeah.
For the eastern side, what happens is on the east there is sun is low. So there is a lower solar angle on the eastern side.
Okay.
So if you have plantation, if you have greenery on this side, say you have trees here, so direct morning sun rays will not enter like this.
True.
But as the sun rises, even then, because of the shading of these trees, it will not directly enter, but you get the light.
Yeah.
So even if you have a facade here, a glazing here, the light will come, and on the north there is no direct sunlight in our part of the globe.
Yeah.
Right? So
Okay.
what else again? You have this entire roof as a green roof. In the inclination part, number four, the inclined part can be having. You can want to have solar panels, you will. Right, you have good inclination, you can have solar panels on top.
Yeah, that will work too.
What is the next point? Because you have inclination, you can have rainwater harvesting. A lot of rainwater can be collected. If you have a lot of rainwater on top, it can all be collected because you have that inclined profile. Water will not waste. Like unlike in a normal flat roof, you want to collect the rainwater. It is difficult.
Yeah.
It will be easier.
You'll have to attach artificial on top to collect it.
Right. So by the nature of your structure itself, by the design itself, it facilitates rainwater harvesting. So you can collect a lot of rainwater from the top and collect it either you recharge the groundwater or use that water and supply. So what are the features? Again, number 6 can be like it's a conducive building, a building for all. Even the disabled or the elderly can climb up to the top of the building with this particular ramp.
Yeah.
The staircase system where people can sit together, chat, and have a leisurely lifestyle just sitting outdoors.
Yes.
Right, so there are a lot of points that are there. Then if you have this predominant wind direction where you're harnessing the wind, so you see there are, you can list out so many points. At least 7 to 10 points will be only for this particular structure, which is a completely, it's not zero energy, but almost like negligible energy is around this particular structure.
Yeah.
And just because you have an inclined profile, you can take a lot of north light even from this top.
Okay.
From where?
Yeah.
From this part. This yellow thing. From here. See?
Yeah.
Yeah, light can come, even you can have a skylight here. Light can come like this.
If you like it.
Diffuse light. So what happens is even during the day, you can say that we have zero artificial lighting.
Okay.
Zero artificial
And
lighting.
then and then during the night, because if there are solar panels, that's
Yeah, exactly.
solar
So this building will become virtually zero energy.
Okay.
It is reusing and replacing own energy.
Yeah.
So that's what there are so many features to incorporate. It's very interesting. You can incorporate these same concepts to other buildings.
Like I had the same like the whole the childcare facility and the senior lounge. I had something in mind like this. Like the structure was something like this.
Right. You know, the best part is because your project is more people oriented. It's not a single user oriented. It's not. So you need to observe people,
Yes, sir.
how they're moving around, and ask them questions without any bias, and also listen to what they're saying and document that process. This is half of it is almost done. The next half is the project work alone. So research orientation is very important, and it can be exploited in a way how you are doing your design. Then you can propose a thoughtful solution, right? And then probably you can do a beautiful architecture, but also it will long because you're done.
So this was basically the building form for senior and childcare facility. So this entire area would be open towards the football field and the playground area, and this was supposed to like be the main like the visual portion of the building. This is the corridor. Should I zoom in into this?
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay. So this was supposed to be basically the common corridor that connected the two facilities, and this was the kind of like the form that I envisioned for the senior and childcare facility block. So we had this whole visual thing here, and like so we could have the solar panel and the same concept, and the same concept that we're applying here can be utilized. Exactly. So we have two major blocks that are essentially zero energy.
Yes. And today, recently I think some of the solar panels that they are coming, those are completely transparent. So you can actually have a sort of a greenhouse on top of the roof, right? So there is a level, just above the grade of the roof, there will be a level of plantation. It will be a green roof, right? And on top of the green roof, covering of the greenhouse, there is a layer of solar panel, which are transparent. So that solar panel, which are transparent, is not only allowing the sun rays filtering into the plants, but also in the process they are harnessing energy. So the plants are getting their sunlight as well as you are harnessing energy. And also what happens in during calamities like this, all these cycles are coming. So just because there is a cover on top, the plants are not damaged.
Okay. So essentially for greenhouse, the solar panels will replace glasses.
Yes, exactly. So if you replace the entire glazing system of a greenhouse, the roofing glazing of a greenhouse with solar panels, which are transparent or transparent, whatever it allows a certain amount of light. That does the job.
So if it allows a certain amount of light, in theory, can't we use the solar panels as the main roofing material for the building?
You could think that, but what happens is, what happens during harsh sunlight, sunny days, then we'll have to have another layer of protection. Probably,
So it could be like it could be a mixture of glasses that limit the amount of sunlight that enters into the building, along with the solar panels. So the solar panels can act as like skylights or skylights similar to what happens in the atrium, right? In atrium, there's one particular source of light which enhances a particular area in the atrium, highlights it. So it can be used like that.
Yes, you can. So you can go to the next one.
And the other thing that I'm having trouble with exactly right now is the main community building, right? So it's more of a thing that I'm not being able to like the spaces that are there, I'm not able to link them in a proper sequence. Like I'm getting confused. So for example, like if I am having the buildings here in this area, if I have the building somewhere here, the main community building, I was thinking that it would have a connection with this building, like kind of like pathway which has pergolas or coverings on top, which connects this the exhibition block with the main community building. And if the community building is somewhat shaped like this in an L shape, it can be connected with this block, which is the childcare facility and the senior lounge, in the same way that it is connected to the exhibition block, which is here. And if I'm adding an auditorium in the main community building, it's somewhat shaped at an angle like this, I can incorporate a street market near here, which will be integrated with the external facade of the main community building. Yes, sir. So right now that I was thinking was the idea that was going through my head was, since we have some natural pathing that's there already, this building, instead of being one single unit, it can be divided into two different units with the pathway going in between. But the other issue would be how to connect the auditorium block, which will be there in the main community.
See, you could connect that on upper level.
upper level.
There can be lower level connectivity as far as the pedestrian is concerned. Yeah.
Okay.
And there can be upper level connectivity on the building. It could be a same building. It could structure at the ground floor, but this central part is void at the ground and there is a structure on top.
Okay.
Upper level.
Oh.
On the top. Like a bridge.
So then this area can be utilized as a open space roofing attached to the auditorium.
This space, even this particular space, and upper level, this can be somewhat like that. It can be part of the same whole thing.
Okay. And if this area is slope, it can also act as a secondary entrance into the auditorium block.
Somewhat like that. Say, for instance, this is ground floor. This is the ground floor. This is the ground floor. Okay. And this becomes the first floor. Okay. Then this becomes the third level, which is on top of this. There is nothing here. There is nothing at the ground level here. So this building becomes somewhat like the interlace.
Okay. I was thinking along this area, right? Yes. This is the ground floor. This can be the ground floor.
Yeah.
The upper. We can have upper floor like this,
Yes, you can. You can do that.
right? And then this area can be used as an open air roof,
Yes, fine.
which can also, and if it is slow,
Yes.
it can act as a secondary entrance into the building from here,
Yes.
from this side.
Yes, fine.
And then, if I want to do G+2, I can use this as a third level, and then this can act as the open air roofing. And if I use this as an auditorium block, this can be spaced like this. It can become another feature on the building itself.
It can become this.
It can become an OAT. It can become an OAT on top of the auditorium.
It can be close like this. One way.
Yeah. So it can also become an OAT on top of the auditorium itself.
It can. This part can become the stage of it.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, we need to have proper exits. At least 4 number of exits.
Yeah, in the same way that auditorium has two aisles at each end and central aisle, which is approximately the width of 2 aisles. That works.
It works, but there has to be exit out of the auditorium into the open. Either into the open space or the staircase which is leading to the open space.
Okay. Since it's an OAT, it does will the OAT also have to have 4 exits since it's already
The
open?
OPT is essentially one open space, right? It is on top of the terrace,
Yeah.
so there is not a fire hazard is not an issue. But what happens is if certain calamities or something happens, people have to be evacuated. There will be at least 100 people gathered up there, so they have to be easily and fast quickly evacuated from the particular space. And for that reason, you need to go there. It is not eventually fire. Somebody may have fallen down or something has happened. People start running. Or there is some fight. Something people there is a huge crowd. People are trying to rush out of that particular space, and it is on top of the terrace. And people fall down on the terrace. So that is a huge issue, right? It has to be
So
situated.
the thing is that how do you give an exit from an open space? Like since it's already in an open space, other than providing standard ramps and
This is on the second level, right?
Yeah.
It's on the second level, and there is this first level, and then you have the ground level.
Yeah.
So from that second level, how do that? What is that access pathway to come down into the ground? Suppose you have to define.
okay.
How do you go down, right? Or if you have a green terrace on the first floor, at least can you come to the first green open terrace? This level.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
I think we can give a dog-shaped ramp there.
Yeah.
Dog-like ramp.
See, you cannot give a ramp everywhere. You can.
No. The reason why I said that was that because ramps are more disabled friendly. So rather than giving emergency staircases, giving ramp to be easier.
But say again, like if you have a OAT on top of a second level, right? Climbing up the second level on a wheelchair is itself a difficult task. You definitely have to give a lift, right? So you think to go there. So you just
The lift will be-
or like that.
The thing is that if the lift is there during natural calamities or during emergencies, most of the time they close the lift, right? Lift is not accessible. So the only other viable option is the ramp.
Yes, the only viable option is ramp has to be there if you want your disabled and elderly climb up to the second level. So you need to define those services or spaces which you want them to go to. This particular OAT may be for those people who may not be required to come into such places. You need to define what is happening here. Who is this for? Who are the users? If you define that, then you might not even give a ramp if it is not required. Or you might give a ramp.
Okay.
I mean, that is up to you. That is a design requirement. Got my point? So think in
Yes,
those
sir.
terms.
Okay.
But the safety, security, and evacuation strategies have to be figured out at this point of time. You can't do it later. Just like add on to anything after the design.
Got it, sir. It has to be incorporated on the very beginning stages of the design.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So, okay, so just observe what is happening.
So this is one thing. The last thing was that the market space, right? So essentially we have two different kinds of market spaces in terms of what they sell, which is wet market and dry market, right? So should I add a wet market here since it's a community market? Should I add a wet market here or should I keep it like a dry market?
No. I think so because if you go back to the rules and just go to the select rules, see, this part of the site and this part, there are already existing wet markets here. Community market is there, which are temporary shanties.
Yeah.
These are temporary. Now these guys will be relocated. They will be removed from here. Where do they go? Nobody has thought about it here.
Yeah.
So can you relocate a part of it here?
If I'm doing a wet market, I think I can because there's a very interesting concept which is used in Singapore. Like how they have their market areas, right? Generally, they have this huge open space and they have a covering on top, which they use as a market space. Right? It's cheap and it's efficient and it's very easily constructed anywhere, right? So using that same idea and modifying it a bit to, like, since it's a community center, make it more refined. This is what I came up with. So if this is the market space, right? Instead of having an enclosed structure like they have it in mall, or like there's an Intally market near my house, instead of being an enclosed structure in 4 walls, it can be an open structure. And since we'll have foodings and everything here, this area above the section. So this area can act as like a eating space where people can buy stuff here, and if it's eating space, they can go up here and eat it here.
One of the
So-
climb up on the top.
Yeah.
People to go upstairs here.
Yes.
Then this particular roof will have to be really strong. And then the problem is then you'll have to have a lot of columns.
Okay.
Yeah, instead if you have a light roof, or maybe a tensile structure. There is a tensile structure on PC2. PC2 is all a tensile structure.
C2, I don't think so.
What?
I don't remember.
There is a tensile structure in the inner courtyard. Yeah, do it. So you can come up with a tensile structure which is a lightweight one, which is easy to execute.
Okay.
So basically this becomes your props, and you can have huge spans. The best part is that
Okay.
it is completely column free structure, and you can have huge spans. It's almost like half of a size of a stadium, right? And it's very cheap. The only issue is you can't climb on top of this.
Okay.
Yeah. So all activities have to be happening below.
Okay. I see.
But it's a very good way to do it. And
Is there any like?
you can have really look good, and the profile will also go with your common structures.
Okay.
And it is not
So is there any examples that I can look
What
up?
for example, in CC2 is there again. In City Center 2, you have the internal, how is City Center 2 is, there's an internal courtyard, right? When you enter City Center 2, there is a profile like this, then there is an internal courtyard, see the police hotel, then the entire mall is like this, right? All the shops. These are the staircases in the front. The CC2.
Okay.
Remember? So, this whole open courtyard, this whole courtyard is covered by this tensile structure. At like 5 or 6 story high.
6 stories high.
Yeah, almost like it's not 6 story high, and the floors are pretty high, right? It is 4 meters at least per floor. So the commercial floor.
Okay. So this is the structure. This is the structure beside the parking lot, right?
No, I'm talking about City Center 2.
Yeah, City Center 2.
City Center 2, Rajahat, New Town.
I think that's in Newtown. That's City Center 1, right?
No,
Or is it 2?
already City Center 1 that is
City. Okay. Okay. Then I'm mixing them up.
So the City Center which is near airport is City Center 2.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So I'm talking about that.
Okay. I can't find any images for it.
So Google it here. The entire facade is inward looking. It is kind of a, the approach what they have taken is a style based, because it is entire design which is inward, and it is covered by this tensile structure.
Okay. Okay. Now I see it. Yeah. It kind of acts as the roof. Okay. Is it great? I'll share it.
And it's more like coming up with the concept of a garden.
Is it this one?
Where? I'm not able to see your speech. Where?
I think it's loading.
Yes.
This is the one, right?
No, not that. This is the one. This is the one. You can see this is the tensile structure. This one on the left. This is the tensile structure. This is the tensile structure. You see this image?
I click.
You got the structure. This one. This is the tensile structure.
Okay. Okay.
It can cover huge spans.
But it's not accessible. It can cover huge span, but it's not
People can't
accessible.
like on top of that. But it is pretty stable. I mean, during this cyclone and all, nothing has happened. And you see the height. How much?
Okay. Yeah,
For
it's
huge
huge.
ones.
That's around 3 stories to 4 stories high.
Yes, it is not more because these floors are very high. They are not normal limited height floors.
Yeah.
Right.
It's around
and this
it's
particular
around
space,
4 floors high.
yeah, and this particular space is almost like this is a semi-open space. And this is a semi-open space, but it almost acts like an open space because of the volume.
Yeah.
Just because it is so high, people can't feel that it is there.
Okay.
Only feel it is there. And this particular space acts like as if it's an open space. So you can have an
Okay,
open
so
market or whatever, and you have a covering on top from the rain. That no rain will fall on top of this.
Rain and sunlight. Yeah.
So what happens is only issue is this is pretty expensive to do. Now to make a budget viable with this one, you need a shopping center somewhat like this. But the issue is you do not have a budget constraint at this particular point because of your nature of your budget. This is an academic budget, so you can go for it easily.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that could work.
So there are a couple of other images. You can scroll up. You can see there are a lot of other images.
This is the same picture. This is another one. This is another one. I think this is from the top side. Yeah, this is pretty much it, sir. These are the only images. It keeps repeating.
So this is the ground human eye view.
Yeah.
Right, and here you can feel the volume. How much it is.
Yeah.
So nobody will actually notice.
Even
People do not notice anything beyond this particular point. Beyond this level, nobody will look up. This is the level where people will look in, right? So they don't feel this volume. And it actually notices. Then we do whatever in that particular.
okay. Even though it's essentially a covered space, because of the huge volume, it doesn't feel like a covered space.
Right. So that is what the concept is.
Okay. But then again, giving such a huge space for a market space, like if it exceeds the height of the main building, then
This is an example. Right? This was the requirement in this particular project. For your project, it may not be so high. It might be half of it. Even if it is half of it, then you have a volume. And in this particular case, this is completely translucent. There is zero sunlight penetrating in this.
oh,
But there is a diffuse sunlight. Diffuse sunlight, 5 to 20% sunlight will come to this because there are other openings all around. If you make this entire
there was
make this structure with something, if not tensile or something, which will have a translucent solar panels, this will act like a double game, right? So you will not only harness solar energy but also will shade the space.
okay. Using solar energy, okay. So there was another question, like, what if the entire market space, what if I wanted to put it like a kind of like, it's still going to be an open market space, but what if it was one level down in comparison to the other spaces in the site?
It can be down. If there is,
Would doing that be possible?
See, with the waterlogging scenario, it might be difficult to do, but if you could do it, then there is another advantage. The advantage is you do not look at a spotty market right at the idle. Right, there's a huge crowd in the market. I mean, you know how the fish markets and all these wet markets are, right? If that can be a level below the idle of normal ongoing traffic around, so it will be like a hidden green space. Right.
But then another solution that I can come up with is that to avoid the waterlogging issue, what if the central portion of the market space is a step down, which is essentially just the wet area. Just the wet market is step down, and there can be two different blocks of dry market space on each side of the wet market space.
Yeah, it can be like for instance, this particular space, which is this space. This space. This is above the island. This is at least 4 meters above normal traffic island. I think it is 4.5 meters. This freedom place. So where you see all these people, this is market space.
Okay. Oh.
This is approx 5 meters from the ground level. So nobody will actually see this crowd. Nobody will actually see this crowd from the road. Imagine the reverse.
Oh, okay.
Imagine the reverse, that people are at a higher level and something is going on below.
Yeah.
Imagine the ground level is here, and this market is happening here, and there is a nice, garden on the other side.
Yeah.
And people are
Exactly. Like,
and people are
that's the idea.
the garden, right? People are directly towards the garden.
Yeah.
If this is
So the maximum amount.
and even if there is a lot of crowd and everything hustle and bustle happening inside, still it doesn't affect.
So depending upon the size of the market space, a lot of land will have to be excavated. So even if we use the cut and fill method, another issue would be where to use the entire amount of space that has been excavated.
So you can use it for
The market space becomes too huge. But then landscaping, would it be? That's why, sir, I was thinking like even in the street markets that I have near my house, the maximum amount of waste that is generated in the surrounding areas is essentially because of fish markets and wet markets. There are meat shops, there are chicken shops, there are fish shops. That is the maximum amount of waste that is generated is from that area. And there are like street animals that are responsible. They spread the waste. So keeping the wet market at a lower eye level and then having the dry market at an upper, like at the eye level, it would be a viable aesthetically and functional wise also.
Because the moment you tie up all these concepts with the elements, the principles of visual design, including this, contrast, balance, emphasis, movement, the spaces of white spaces, negative spaces, proportion, hierarchy and repetition, rhythm, pattern, unity and variety. You can do a lot of players with a lot of these space. Either it is down or up, it is either or not. So those things you can dictate, you can define. Either you can buffer all those noises and everything.
Yeah.
It is visual pollution or pollution of the year. All these design principles work together. You have to do a balance of.
Okay, sir. So when I start designing the market space, I'll see like if it's getting too huge of a space to be excavated, then I think I'll avoid that. But if it's like an appropriate amount which can be utilized in the landscaping of other areas in the site, then I'll go for that because logically thinking that's the most viable way to do that.
Always it doesn't need to be excavated. And for instance, in city center 1, if you pull out that image, you see the central room, what they call it. So that space is not excavated, but it looks like excavated because they have raised all other spaces around it. That space is in effect actually above the ground level, but still it looks as if it is below because everybody else is around it. It has been raised by steps. City center 1, not this one. Pull out city center 1.
This space?
No, or is it not the CC1, this is CC2.
This is city center 1.
This is city center 1. This space, I'll say, but it's still loading. This image.
Okay.
Yeah, this image. These spaces, it looks like
open court area, this area.
Yes. So this open courtyard area, it looks as if it is below grade, but which is not. So they have not really done any excavation. This space, it's not below grade. The entire scenario of people are looking it from the top. Everybody is observing this space from the top. But it is not. It really is the ground level is below here. People have to climb up to this space and go to this particular space. So if you the structure of building or the formation of the soil or the part of the building in such a way where there are undulations, gradients, you can climb up and down, it gives also a feel to the side. It becomes an experiential journey to your side. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But
But,
you also that your form follows your function, follows your concept, follows your form.
utilizing this in the market space, like, would it be appropriate? Because then raising it, just raising some spaces would look very odd. Suddenly if it starts raising.
Part of the market can be raised, or it can be in a different level, either below or above. Like for instance, the wet market, or maybe the fish market. Fish market and the meat market, all these are like very dingy places, very a little smelly and stuff. So if they are not in the direct line of sight, it is always better.
Okay.
Other than that, like vegetable market and all, it can be easily kept open, I guess.
Yeah. Well, like general community market spaces,
Like
general
community
commodities. Yeah.
And
That can be there in
people
visual.
don't
Yeah.
have necessity within that market scenario. Normally, what happens in our community market, you do not see any green.
Yeah.
Is
True.
there any possibility where you can incorporate like a row of trees, maybe a market within those row of trees or something like that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I'll give you another example. You go to Shantiniketan, you know Shantiniketan? Shantiniketan Hut, H-double-H Hut. This is a village market for art and craft of the local people. So, what do you images? This.
Yeah, it's loading, sir. It's a bit slow. It's loading.
Yeah, you see this entire market. This is not a dry or vegetable or wet market. This is a handicraft hut or market, right?
Okay.
So what they do is, it's in the midst of forest. This is the first image.
Yeah.
It is, it is kind of a ground within the forest.
Yeah.
Right. So they have occupied the spaces in between the trees and set up a market. Completely unplanned and completely organic. But why not make it in a planned market in such a way that there is a lot of greenery, so it suits the eye?
Yeah.
This concept is a completely
And
unplanned, but it's a very famous concept. And people from all over the world need to see this market.
If we incorporate trees and all, it can also act as a barrier both for visual and for smell in cases of
And
wet
also it
market.
will be great for the people who are working. The people who are sitting and selling, or people who are traveling to the market. So it's completely the thing. If you incorporate the trees, it will be best in all this.
Okay.
So try to make it as green as possible. Because in our process of architecture, we forget to incorporate trees, which you should not.
Yeah. Generally, in all the community markets that I have seen, even near my house, it's mostly like a covered area which is completely flat with temporary stalls.
Even these
No
ones,
hint
they
of greens or plants or anything. It's just one flat area with stalls there.
True. See, what happens is incorporating green is very important. And because greenery, it not only gives us oxygen and all, it is in a holistic way, it is important for the community. Right. So, in this, when you're designing any such living environment, the environment benefits more than just our health and well-being. It also facilitates maybe the water management, it promotes biodiversity in that area, in that built-up spaces, and can help reduce the effects of noise pollution and all pollution to the eye. Maybe. It is not nice to have a market in such kind of scenario, but it will be nice if it is like in a concrete structure. Right.
Okay.
It also helps to raise the value of that particular land in a better way. In comparison to a normal market, if you have a market somewhat like people will love to go there, for instance, the Shantiniketan
Yeah,
market.
definitely.
All over the world, people are interested in coming and buying this market, and it's pretty cheap. And it's a huge concept to follow. Where indigenously people have developed themselves, it's an organic concept. Why not bring it into your design land, then intelligent design? Yeah.
Yes, sir. In the end, it is for the community. So if it interests and develops the community to feel a sense of belonging to that area, then it will be successful. Like, that is the main point of community architecture.
So the more you emphasize on the community involvement, the more better. So you can only allocate the spaces where these guys will come and sit. It's a daily market, so they will bring in stuff from their place and they will come and sell it. You need to only define the space or define the space where they will be coming and sitting here, and define the corridor through which they will enter your site and exit your site, and how is the waste that is generated here will be got rid of from this city.
Okay. So the entry, like if I show you the cat file. So considering that the market space will be around this area, it will be along this direction, right? This is the space that I had allotted for the market space around this area, and this entire area will be open, right? As I said before, it will be like kind of like an open area. People can come in and go in as they please, since it is for the public. They can enter with the products here, set up their stalls here, or if they are bringing huge goods and everything, they can use their trucks.
People can access like this, okay? But those will be the people who will be the buyers. This will be the buyer's area, okay? For the seller's entry, it can be a different service route, where they will bring in what? Their vans, the small rickshaws or e-carts or something, where they will bring in their stuff, and then they will unload here. There will be loading and unloading happening, and they will go into the stalls. And try orienting your stalls in this way,
Okay.
like this. Why If your stalls are oriented like this, and these are stalls, small periods.
Okay. So the movement will be basically like this.
It can be a complete thoroughfare, if you will, or it can be like this, but people can enter like this.
Okay.
So that there is a good visibility of what happens beyond. It should not be a complete walled up structure. Normally in such markets, wherever there are such markets, you see, even if there are temporary structures like this, it is a complete enclosure. It becomes an enclosure eventually.
Yeah.
You see the backside of this whole thing. And there is no entry here. Even if there is entry, it is like a small here and there. Small like this. But essentially you see a block tent. No. What you should do is you need to keep it open.
Yes, I have no intent other than providing roof covering on top of that to provide shade. I have no intention of adding any wall to the market.
Right. So basically, people from the road they will be able to see what is happening inside. You have a lot of landscape garden and everything, buildings and nice looking things inside, right? So
Yeah.
those things should not be hidden by what is happening here. What I got?
Yes, sir.
So you orient your buildings like
the idea of the market.
and then have your greenery inside it. All these will be lined with greenery. All the shops and everything will be green. It might as well become like a organic forest. Not a trees under which there are shops.
I'll show you something so that that can be like that I saw and was very interesting. Which is this. This is Norman Foster's Center for Hometown of Manchester. This is basically a community market space. Right? think it's loading for you.
I've seen this thing.
Yeah. So this was the thing that I saw. Like when I was searching for the concept for community market space, I think this is one of a very good example of how I want my market space to be.
The concept is similar here. What we are trying to do is put in a lot of actual trees here and make it more softer. Here it has a lot of solid roof on top.
Hardscape, yeah.
A lot of hardscape and a lot of solid roof on top because of the demand of that particular project. That was their requirement, right? For which it was designed. Now you can improvise on it and make it probably more, a better or a softer version of this, where the roofing is not so hard. A very light roofing, if at all roofing, if there is more roofing, you don't have roofing, you don't need to. Yeah, you need not to have such a huge roof covering such a huge arena. Instead, you can have roofs here and there. And maybe these are all makeshift stops. Maybe even not a roof, just an umbrella for a stop. Whatever it is, that you decide. Right? But make it softer.
Okay. And initially, when I started doing the designing for the when I started thinking about the community market space, I thought it could have the dry market space, like the example that I showed you. We could have that like that there, and then we could have a wet market space that is entirely separated from the dry market. But then, that, is it viable or not? I wasn't sure.
Normally, in our kind of scenario, it doesn't work like that. It becomes a particular part of the same market.
Okay.
So usually it becomes a particular part. So let it remain a part of the same market in both space. Then
Okay.
you can then
Okay,
right, so just to have the public purpose of these existing perspective. So in your concept itself, when you are showing the satellite map, then even itself in it you can show that okay, these are the existing pedestrian pathways based on which you have developed your design.
Okay.
Maybe you can a little reroute it here and there. For instance, instead of like this, maybe you have done somewhat like this. But still, you have kept that formation.
Yeah. So
Maybe
the thing was that, sir, when I was when I was looking at this, this is the best way that I could come up with a movement space, right? If I, for example, if I do this, right? I mean, so this is basically one circle area, right? So if I make a movement space like this, I think if I make a movement space like this becomes one pathway. This is one zone.
What is this? This is in the side.
Yeah.
No, how do you define the
If I
side?
do something like this,
What is the
on
size
the
of
circle, it depends upon what is there. Like if I have this area, if I remove this, if I have, for example, the exhibition block, and I place it here, right? Here. So if I wanted to give a pathway, it would be something like this. Then this would be the pathway. Then we have this football field here. So this becomes essentially like this. This area becomes for the football field. So we'll have a pathway, something like this. And since these two are connected here, they can merge here.
Yeah, so you could do that. Yeah.
Since like circle, when we even do our bubble diagrams or when we do zoning, most of the time we use circles, right? Circles is like the most efficient way to denote a particular area for a particular space. So using that to create abstract, instead of giving one linear straight road, giving abstract roads which are at an angle makes the entire thing more interesting.
So even those abstract roads would have some bearing on these points. No? There are certain jobs you can see that these are clearly demarcated. These are the human pattern that is happening. If you are designing for the city, and if you emphasize that yes, I am designing for what is already existing, so that makes more sense. Yeah. Not just greenery, natural light is also important. Natural light is increasingly part of well-being design, and research consistently confirms its benefit. A study showed that students in a classroom with more natural light scored 25% higher on standardized tests than other students in the same school district. So this is pretty amazing, these results that we are seeing all over the place, all over the world. So greenery in our places, in our architecture, if it is intertwined with architecture, makes us healthy, smarter and happier. Imagine how we benefit from a built environment which is completely made out of plants. Imagine the future where the architecture is no more bricks and mortar, it is more of plants. It is more of a enclosure, a cocoon of a biodiverse field where people can stay together, live together in harmony with the nature. Having said all of that, let me tell you what I sincerely believe as an architect will always be a student, continuously learning, because there is a lot to learn. Let me know your comments, your views on this particular topic that we have discussed today. Write in the comment below. I'll get back to you. See you.